Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really fascinating, highly polarized opinion piece published by OpIndia. It's all about West Bengal's political landscape. Now, this article makes some incredibly sweeping claims about the state's history, its economy, and its demographics. Just to be clear, right up front, our goal here isn't to take a side. Instead, we're going to deconstruct this narrative piece by piece. We really want to understand exactly how political arguments of this magnitude are framed, how they're built and delivered to the reader.
Take a look at the phrasing of this core thesis. It's actually a direct, very intentional subversion of the ruling Trinamool Congress Party's famous slogan, Mother, Land, and People. By swapping out those foundational ideas with migrant, misrule, and Mamata, the author is literally setting the stage for a sweeping narrative of profound betrayal. And as you'll see, that's a thread we're going to find woven throughout this entire piece.
So, to break down this highly subjective argument objectively, we've got a roadmap. First, we'll unpack the core thesis. Second, the critique of communist rule. Third, the allegations against the TMC. Fourth, the demographic argument. And finally, we'll look at the proposed BJP alternative.
All right, moving into Section 1, unpacking the core thesis, a narrative of betrayal.
So the author relies really heavily on stark juxtaposition here. On one side, they paint this vivid picture of Bengal's golden age, framing it as India's cultural and industrial jewel, boasting inspiring figures like Vivekananda and Subhash Chandra Bose. But then on the flip side, they depict a present ruin full of ghostly villages, youth forced to migrate, and completely strangled entrepreneurs. It's a classic rhetorical device. It's designed to evoke a strong sense of tragic loss before the author even introduces their specific political targets.
Okay, Section 2, the critique of communist rule, the first alleged betrayal.
The author constructs a very specific chronological timeline of decline here. They establish that pre-1977 era as the benchmark, the absolute peak of greatness. Then, the subsequent period of communist rule, right from 1977 to 2011, is marked as the first massive betrayal. And that period, according to the piece, supposedly sets the stage for the current TMC era, which the author basically views as the final nail in the coffin.
34. That's a number the source aggressively highlights. It represents the 34 years of left-front rule. The article argues that Marxist ideology systematically poisoned enterprise here. Basically, they claim it branded industry as bourgeois exploitation and actively drove out foundational investors. We're talking big names like the Tatas and Birlas. Furthermore, the author asserts that this era mocked patriotism, weakened national pride, and laid the ideological groundwork for a complete systemic collapse.
Which brings us to Section 3, allegations against the TMC, the second alleged betrayal.
Here, the author introduces a pretty explosive phrase, Syndicate Raj. They use this to claim that a mafia-like system now governs the state. The allegation is that absolutely no construction, trade, or small business can survive without paying off political extortionists. It's a really potent label, clearly designed to completely strip the government of its administrative legitimacy.
And to back up this Syndicate Raj label, the article lists a rapid-fire series of scandals. They point to the SSC recruitment scam, the teacher recruitment scam, and the coal scam. The core claim here is that the state isn't just being poorly run, it's being systematically looted, and that everything from education to natural resources is basically being run as a racket. 6,600. To really bolster their economic argument, the author claims that over 6,600 companies evacuated Bengal between 2011 and 2024. And notice the word choice there. Evacuated rather than just relocated. That is absolutely intentional. It's chosen specifically to suggest a desperate flight from a hostile business environment, cementing this narrative of total economic destruction.
From there, the accusations shift towards cultural treachery with another loaded term, the appeasement republic. The source claims the current government prioritizes illegal infiltrators and funds madrasa expansion simply to secure vote bank loyalty. The accusation is that they are allegedly ignoring the needs and the safety of their own legitimate citizens in the process.
Let's look at Section 4, the demographic argument, claims of inversion. The source specifically targets border districts for this argument, places like Malda, Murshidabad, and North Dinajpur. They claim a slow-motion partition is actively unfolding right now. The author alleges that a demographic inversion has occurred, but they paint it not as some organic demographic shift, but as a deliberate, state-sponsored replacement of fleeing native youth with illegal immigrants. And this all leads into what the article frames as a profound cultural humiliation.
Educated Bengali youth are supposedly forced to migrate to places like Kerala, Delhi, or Hyderabad out of sheer compulsion, just because there are no jobs left at home. The brutal irony presented here is that a state once known as the Manchester of the East now exports its young labor force while supposedly paying welfare doles to infiltrators.
Moving to our final part, Section 5, the proposed BJP alternative, a civilizational choice.
The entire narrative culminates in this really stark binary choice. On one side, you have the author's bleak version of Mamata Banerjee, defined by migrants, appeasement, and misrule. And on the exact opposite end is their idealized double-engine vision of the BJP, that's characterized by development, fierce nationalism, restored cultural pride, and booming factories. It's framed entirely as ruin versus renaissance.
Now, to prove that this alternative actually works in reality, the author points to other state governments. They use them as proof that the RSS vision of integral humanism is the exact cure for Bengal's woes. They praise Gujarat's industrial transformation, Uttar Pradesh's status as an investment magnet, and Assam's specific combination of IT development with strict anti-infiltration policies. The argument is that this precise blend of nationalism and economic development is the exact blueprint Bengal desperately needs.
And we end with the author's final heavily loaded question posed to the reader: a colony of infiltrators or a cradle of renaissance? As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to ask yourself how selective timelines and really potent rhetorical choices, just like this final question, are used to shape modern political campaigns. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep analyzing the structures behind the arguments you read, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.